everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that I am very passionate about, and it's a little taboo as a writer to be talking about other authors and to be critiquing their work. And that's something that I also push back against because I feel like it's just another form of gatekeeping and a way to keep authors of color and other marginalized authors in their place. So as somebody who does talk about their writing here and wanting to be published in the future, I know that at times I will have to use my voice and the small platform that I have to address topics that can be difficult. This is a topic that a lot of Black authors won't talk about because they are afraid of the backlash as they try to navigate this space themselves. And that is white authors, particularly in kidlit, writing these Black stories. I see it all the time. If you follow me on Twitter, you see me ranting about it all the time. And I usually don't bring attention to the titles just because a lot of times there are people, my followers, have never heard of these books, and I'm just like, you know what, if I bring more attention to it, then people are going to rage, people are going to share it, more people are going to hop on it. But for this particular incident, I do feel like I need to bring attention to it because of the way that the book is being marketed and also who's involved with the writing and production of it. So I wanted to talk about Creaky Acres, a graphic novel. This is being published by Kokila, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. I've mentioned some Kokila books on my channel before because I have gotten some for free this year, and they've been great stories. Kokila is an imprint specifically focused on diversity in kidlit. Creaky Acres by Calista Brill and Nyla McGrutter. Nyla is a Black illustrator who works in the comic book space. Calista is an editor at First Second, which is a graphic novel imprint of Macmillan. Calista is not a Black woman, but she's written this Black story. Upon doing my research, I discovered a post announcing this as a deal that was acquired at auction back in 2016. We've been having conversations of diversity in kidlit since well before then. Calista has been an editor in kidlit for quite some time, so she doesn't get grace for this either because she should have known better. I found actually from School Library Journal in 2014 an article that she was quoted in where they were asked about the publishing perspective on diversity in kidlit. I will link it in the description box below, but she said, it's important for people to be able to write books about whatever group they want. However, authors should do a lot of careful research if it's not their own personal experience. That is her feel on diversity, and clearly so that she could hop on this undertold story, but I disagree immensely with that because the problem is that Black authors are not able to tell the underrepresented stories that they deserve to tell. We are often told there is no market for our stories, that our audience is too niche, that people won't be able to relate, because instead of books being able to relate to specific audiences, publishing kind of moves at this idea that your book should have mass appeal to everybody, and we just all know we have different tastes, we come from different backgrounds, we have different values. Every book is not for every person. Now, what upset me specifically when it came to Creaky Acres, in addition to it being published by a publisher that I've come to trust for giving these diverse stories, giving Black authors a chance to tell their underrepresented stories, is the way in which they are marketing it. I talk about Edelweiss on here often and the key selling points that are discussed when it comes to marketing books to different audiences. I know you guys, most of you have never been on Edelweiss, you don't know what it looks like. I am going to put up a screenshot so that I can show you what I'm reading from. But the key selling points are things that they believe are going to help sell the book. And something that stood out to me here is that one of the key selling points is There are no graphic novels about black girls with horses, making Creaky Acres a much needed mirror for young black equestrians. A mirror written by a non-black person for black children. I know a lot of authors believe in anybody should write whatever they want to write. I vastly disagree with that, again, especially because we are not able to always write the stories that we want to write. This feels extra icky because recently Beyond Black Beauty came out, which is written by a black woman. So a lot of black girls will be clamoring for these horse stories. So this coming out next year is like perfect timing. And like pointed out here, we don't have a lot of these stories. The only other horse book I've seen in this space this year was also by a white woman. So that's two black girls on the cover in these horse stories and not a black author in sight. Another thing that bothered me, it says thoughtfully reflects on microaggressions that young readers might face as the only person of marginalized identity in a school setting. I've been the only black person in the room many times. I've been one of like two black girls in the class. I've been the only black girl in the class. It is a tough experience. Like my mom, she grew up differently and she doesn't fully understand because she's never been in this type of situation, because when she was going to school she was never the only black person, and for her it's just like, what was the best education? And she prides herself on having been able to take us to a lot of spaces where we were the only black people because we weren't afraid to go anywhere. I've had to like have these conversations with her and be like, no, every space where we're the only black person wasn't always the best space for us. For me, if I could do it all again, I would not go to the same high school that I went to. The high school that I went to was a majority white Catholic school. It actually closed like right after I graduated and reopened because it merged with another Catholic high school in the area, and like it renamed. It's like a whole different thing now. But I went there because I had already gone through the Catholic school system for so many years. A lot of my friends were going there and it's where I was most comfortable. It was a whole different game compared though to the school that I went to that had a lot more diversity. Here I was literally like one of the few splashes of color, like among a large sea of white people. And like there was such a bad reputation for the local public school, and there still is, like their test scores are not it. But I ended up going to Votech half the day where I would be in school with those same public school students, and that definitely helped me a lot. I think I would have been worse off if I was just surrounded by white children and their macro and microaggressions all day. I don't recommend like sending your kids in a space where they are the only ones that look like them. And I know it's like hard to balance because you want what is best for them education wise, but it's not always what's best for them education wise. And also it had me in a bit of a bubble too, because I know when I went off to college, then I had nobody familiar around me. So it was a bit of an adjustment because I had to learn how to make friends in a space where I knew absolutely no one and I didn't have those connections. And there were like, in addition to like the homesickness you just feel in general, that was really rough for me that first semester. And it's still, you know, always going to be a hard thing to find friends in a space that you don't know. But I feel like if I would have went to a public school, it would have prepared me a lot more for that. And luckily for me in college, I was able to find things like the Black Student Union, where I was able to find my people. And I really leaned into being able to go to all these different diverse events and be in this environment that I wasn't used to coming from these all white spaces. So A white woman who has never experienced that is not the one to tell this type of story. They don't know the ups and the downs to being the only black person in that space. And I'm sure this is being pushed as a it's okay to be the only person in that space just based off of the synopsis. The synopsis here says Nora is a prize-winning horseback rider in a suburban area with a tight-knit circle of best friends. But when her mom gets a prestigious new job in a poor rural area, she has to adjust to a lot of change. To being the only black kid in a new class, and to a new barn called Creaky Acres, where her beloved horse Hayfever will make his new home. If there, it's there she meets sweet and geeky Laura, goofy and fun-loving Wilson, and fearless Dolores, aka Dizzy. With her ragtag team of equestrians, Nora learns it's okay to stand out and steps into her power as a leader, realizing that being a rider isn't just about winning, or maybe that winning just might look different than what she thought. You don't see a lot of cases where, like, a wealthy black person has to go to a poor white space either. I don't know anything about that dynamic, so I can't speak on it. Again, I feel like somebody who has actually been through that should be the one to tell that type of story, because there's plenty of like racism. There's a lot of racism that happens in poor white spaces too. Don't fool you. Poor white people can think that they are way better than black people who come from more than them. I live in Pennsylvania that has a lot of rural areas that I will never step into. So that's my experience with that. I just feel like there are so many black authors who would have been a better fit to write this type of story. Off the top of my head, I think of somebody like Patricia A. Jackson. She is a black equestrian. She is an author. She works as a teacher at a high school in York, where she's actively working against book bans, like been on PBS and like CBS and all these like news stations nationally with her students, helping fight to get diverse stories out there. And she knows what it's like to be the only black person in these equestrian spaces. There are other black equestrians as well who would have been able to add their experience instead of a white woman having to research what she thinks it is that we feel. And I just want to see black authors being given the same opportunity to tell these underrepresented stories that white women are. I see it with white women authors. I see it with white male authors in kidlit space. We have these stories that get rejected over and over again, and then somebody white writes it and it's like, oh, come read this diverse tale. Bethany Baptiste said something recently about how these white people believe that they can write BIPOC people better than actual BIPOC people, and that really feels true, especially when I read stuff like this where we are hinging the marketing based off of black people need this representation. We do, but why do we need this representation to be filtered through a white woman? And what's interesting that I also want to point out here is that because this is a diversity focused imprint, the editor who acquired this book is a woman of color. Now, she's not a black woman, which is something that I also want to point out, because so often we as black writers in the space are told we need more editors of color, we need more editors of color, they are going to be the ones to help us push our books forward. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they are also the gatekeepers holding us back. Like, because they to be able to pursue publishing is such a privilege in and of itself. A lot of the people they do pick came up from more privileged circumstances. They went to top schools. They had to work really hard. They've already been in these white spaces, learning from white people to view books the way through that white lens. So then these publishers hire people of color who view books through the same white lens as their white editors, and they're the ones out here who are now saying, okay, I want this diverse story, but it has to look like this. And so we're told that these editors of color are supposed to save us, but often they only want certain types of stories for us. And they're not necessarily challenged about their own biases that they need to overcome when they step into these gatekeeper roles. So I saw this cover at first. I got super excited. I thought it was another great Black book to be able to share. I was deeply disappointed. This, again, is a topic that I am very passionate about and I don't plan on not talking about soon. I'm not slighting Kalista, like, on a personal level. I don't know her, but I do judge her actions and why she feels the need to be the one to tell this story over an actual Black person, especially when I'm sure she's been working in the graphic novel space for some time now, so somebody definitely has come to her in the past with a story that needed to be told that we're not really seeing on the market, and she's had to reject them for whatever reason she felt. Yet here she is being welcomed with open arms to tell a Black tale that she has no experience with. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. If you're not sure what to say, but you just want a boost to help this through the algorithm, then go ahead and comment a rose, because I have a rose on my top. And make sure to like and share this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!